Child, between cousin Monica annoying ass voice and Marie and that never ending forehead kiss. Thank God we at the finale of Ready to Love. Hey y'all, support this channel by smashing that like button. Your likes not only make my day, but they also tell YouTube that you also enjoy this content. Also, don't forget to hit the notification button. That way you can be alerted as soon as I drop a new episode. So y'all, we are back and we are at the finale, child. It is episode 12 of season 8 of Ready to Love Dallas. And y'all, it has been a journey. Ooh, off and online, it has been a journey. Jesus, never would have made it. Mm. Honestly, y'all, I never would have made it without y'all. Y'all have kept this thing funny. Y'all have kept it rolling and kept me rolling online. Y'all have made this enjoyable with your comments and your commentaries, both in my email, honey, and on these comments. And it has been a walk, honey. It has been a walk. We have survived. Anyway, speaking of survival, all the final couples are at our brunch meetup. And, we have the final 6 folks that are involved in this thing, honey. We got Phil and Aries, we got Janelle and Quentin, and we got Jessica, Marie, and Kat. And this weird non-love triangle. I don't know. They really just trying to make Marie have this storyline where he got to choose between 2 women. Sir, we don't believe you. The couples are seated, getting breakfast. Everybody is actually being very cordial, liking each other. Honey, I even saw Janelle and Kat give a little cordial pat. That they didn't have to do that. So I found that to be very interesting. And again, I want to know where it fell off the rails because all of the back and forth drama online says something different, but clearly the girls are being cordial on camera and we love to see it because I am exhausted with the arguments, honey. And they are at these awkward table setups. So they have Marie sitting with Kat. That makes sense because she's in the triangle. But they have Jessica sitting with Quentin. And then they have Janelle sitting with Aries and Phil. It was just a weird situation. And that made me wonder, like, was that cordial really okay? Or did they have to separate these two? But these are the table setups, honey, and we're just, moving around. Again, I have to say, this to me has really been the best dressed season of Ready to Love. I say this all the time. And I think people have had their cute fashions one here and there on each episode, each season. But I really have loved the way the women have presented themselves physically in the ladies' lounge. They always look well put together, a beautiful array of colors. The ladies have just been on point in Dallas, and I love to see it. Let's keep this energy going. I also think the men have been pretty well dressed. They're different heights, different sizes, but I think for the most part, with the exception of Marvin in that same, BDSM uniform, honey, the rest of the men have always been dressed impeccably well, put together as much as you can be. Mario gonna give us a match or something if he don't give us nothing else. But I really love that everybody has just always looked well represented. For Black folks, we look clean, we look pulled together. I like it. Jessica and Kat are wearing the same color dress, honey. Who thought of this? It's giving production set you up because the odds of them having this particular color of green on, like it's not a lime green, but it's not a dark green. Both, the dresses are, kind of cute. But either way, why are these same women dressed alike? It's giving we wanted y'all to have a cat fight. So as I said, Marie and Kat are sitting together, and Kat proceeds to ask him about Aquanetta. And we met Aquanetta last episode. That was his cousin. And his cousin, while she did like both women, she said that she saw Kat with Marie more. And but she said ultimately it was his choice. And Marie says he doesn't know because he has this very strong connection with Jessica. So she asked her, and she said that when she hugged his cousin felt very warm and inviting, and she she liked that hug or whatever. There wasn't nothing there. They wasn't talking about nothing but the 2 braids. So Jessica, and we move over to Jessica and Quentin, who are at another table. Again, I don't understand the seating arrangement. And they're having a chit chat and they're talking about how they feel about the process. And of course, Jessica says that, she's stuck in this triangle between him and Kat. There is no triangle. I don't see either one of y'all for him. And Quentin is talking about him and Janelle. And I think it's brought up about the age difference again. And he just says that the age difference is a little bit different for him. He does say that he's dated older women in the past, but if somebody had been telling him that he would date somebody 41 or 42, he would have probably told them that they was lying. Like that doesn't seem like something, but they have this really great connection. They have this really strong connection. And he feels like, she's the person for him. All of a sudden, Tommy come running in, and per usual, where is Tommy coming from, y'all? Every time we see Tommy, he feel like he coming in one of these things that he on a rush to go somewhere else, honey. Like, this is a stopover on my way to the bar, or this is a stopover on my way to the mall, or this is a stopover with me to pick up my wife. Tommy feel like Ready to Love is something he's scheduled in and then scheduled out. I'm just here to get my check and I'm leaving. So Tommy comes in and he says that they are down to the final rounds, honey, that this week is going to be about a life-changing decision. And he said that there are no more curveballs, but then he gives a curveball. And the curveball is that the women need to introduce the men to their family. It is now time to see what your family thinks about these men, and that will help you make your final decision. He bows out, collects his check at the door, and we go back into conversation. They then mix it up a little bit. Quentin sees Janelle, pulls her to the side, tells her she looks amazing. She says that he looks amazing as well. And he tells her that he lights up whenever he sees her. And I mean, they honestly do. They're one of my favorite couples of the couples that have come across this stage, as well as Aries and Phil. Phil seems to be really comforting the Aries in this moment because I think that she was going through a moment. I don't know if it was her dad's birthday or just the reeling. Or sometimes, when you lose a parent, as someone who's lost a parent, specifically my father, I understand sometimes you're just sitting somewhere and it hits you. But I think it might have been that this was around either the anniversary of his death, or, maybe it was his birthday, or just some moment that was passing for her. And she just was really feeling it. And we know Phil has also lost his father and his stepfather in the last couple of years, in the last, I think, 2 years. So he completely identifies with her and says, you just got to work it through sometimes. Aries says that, she's incredibly sweet. She never questions their connection. It's clearly there. As soon as they see each other across the room, it's nothing. They just have that. But she is worried about some of the things that have been coming up regarding stability, and just dealing with that, and her father passing is a lot going on. So we're going to see where these people are headed, because now they have to meet the kinfolk on the lady side. Okay, y'all. So first up to bat is Janelle, and we are meeting her cousin Courtney. And she wants Courtney to meet Quentin and, I guess hash out these last few things that they got going on. Tommy is going to be something that y'all going to have to make a lifetime decision about. Tommy always make it seem like these people are going to move on into marriage right after the show. Tommy, it's only been about 6 to 7 weeks. At best, we just know we're going to like each other and we go together. So anyway, Courtney seems like a cool guy. Quentin comes in, yada, yada. They say hello. And, Courtney gets right into it. He asks, Quentin, what is it about Janelle? He said he lights up whenever she's around. And he asks him, how does he feel about the age difference? Quentin says, it doesn't really come up unless somebody else brings it up. They don't really notice it. And I will say, on their dates, Janelle has been active when they do active stuff, except for, when they were all at the house with Lee and the workout class and situations. When they played pickleball, she was very active with him there. She seems to keep up with his speed, and they seem to enjoy each other's back and forth. And it seems to be a cool thing. So I agree. I don't think she looks drastically older or younger than him. I mean, I think she's 41. He's like 34. To me, Quentin also doesn't look really, really young. Like, he doesn't look super old. He just doesn't look like he's 24. It's not like a baby face situation. He's a grown man with a beard and a full body. So it works well together. He asks, and I think a lot of times people try to do too much on the women men, May December relationship. Like, it's okay if a guy is dating a woman that's a little bit younger than him, it's expected, it's understood. But if a woman's dating a guy who's a couple of years younger, it's like, oh my God, how could you? What are you gonna do? It's like, calm these down, okay? Anyway, the cousin then asked him, how are you feeling about kids and starting a family and situations like that? Quentin said it's really important to him. So he's glad that he's meeting her cousin, because family is really a big deal for him, and he really enjoys family and they're important to him. The cousin asked him, like, oh, do you want to have kids? Because, Janelle is a little bit older. And Lord knows, we know Janelle's a little bit older. They keep saying that in every episode. I mean, I have never seen them flag so much on a woman's age. I do know the fertility thing is, a concern, but it's one of those things like, child, we saw some of these real old ass men in these last couple of seasons of Ready to Love. We see some 50-year-olds, hey, PO, you know what I'm saying, up here with these 36-year-old women's like, girl, where's this going? This woman don't have no kids, and you are her granddaddy. So where are we going with this? So I'm just saying, we see a lot of these older men, and we have less of these questions, I feel like, as much as we do with the women. But I know it's about the childbearing situation, so I get it. So, but just not too much. You know what I'm saying? So he asked how he feels about the kids, and Quentin says that ideally he would love to have 3 children. And Janella's like, okay, I don't know about that. She's like, on the green screen, she's saying like, maybe like 1 and a possible, maybe we get a dog and we can have like an agreement on that. And I don't think it's that she doesn't want kids. I think she's being realistic about her age and fertility. Now, I want to say this because there is a lot of ignorance that goes around about the idea that women in their 40s can't have kids. We know that the risk is high risk, or you at risk for more so some things with children. But let's be clear, childbirth is risk regardless of age. And I think, all the years that we have watched, Married to Medicine again and these maternity issues, we just have to be less ignorant about this situation. If your body is healthy, if you're in good shape, in terms of like you're just fit, so physically fit is important, that will help out the situation more. If you are able to bear children and your doctor and your OBGYN will know more about your fertility situations, you can still have kids at this age. It is also important to have the proper OBGYN. So many people have OBGYNs that are, just not very positive around birth. And I honestly think if you're a Black woman, try to get a Black OBGYN. I know it could be difficult, but I have an amazing one. And I feel like that makes such a huge difference in the level of support. And she's birthed quite a few. I think most of the Black women in my area go to her, I swear. And she's birthed quite a few women in later stage, situations. So I really just think people have to think about that. Anyway, fast forward, she says like, maybe one in a possible. And Quentin says he understands that's the issue for them. The cousin even says, you gonna have 3 kids and still go to Paris? So it's clear that Janelle likes to travel. And honestly, I don't think Lee would have been with this either. Even though I know that her and Quentin weren't a match, I don't think she would have been with this. I don't think Lee was interested in having no 3 kids, honey, no back to back. After she had that date with Chris, and it's clear that she likes luxury things and things to do. Kids are money and they cost. And a lot of times when men say stuff like this, I often feel like you could tell they haven't raised any children. And it's coming from a man that has no kids. He got nieces and nephews. Because if you really have children, 3 kids is a lot for anybody to raise. I don't even know that I have in my very close circle of girlfriends anybody has like 3 children. They have 1 and 2 or just 1. But having 3 kids as when you have to go do things, once you realize how much children cost, it's expensive. And the last time I checked, Quentin just starting his little workout business. He's not as established as Lee is. So sir, were you going to be getting clients too sweet in the next 2 or 3 years? And like Janelle said, if you want to have these kids, I'm 41, we got to start tomorrow. And so I think it's more realistic that he needs to figure that situation out. As far as like what he wants to do in that, because any woman that he's going to be dating, because he's also 34, he's probably going to be a dad with young kids in his early 40s. Some men are okay with that, but some men, that's the period where they kind of slow down a little bit. Like, you about 5 years away from your 40s or 6 years away from your 40s, and having a bunch of stair-step children, that's a lot. So the cousin mentions that as well. And, Quentin says, but it is important for him to have children. So they know that that's going to be a hurdle. And I want to also say this. I think a lot of people look at celebrities sometimes and think that they are the role model for that situation. Yes, Beyonce and Sierra are having kids in their 30s, but they also have staffs. They have nannies, honey. They got multiple family members and millions and billions of dollars to help them along that scenario. Beyonce having them 3 kids working at the post office. So I really feel like people are not thinking about that. And one thing about Janelle is she's more established in her career than Quentin. So, sir, respectfully, if you're going to date a woman who's a little bit older and you're also 34, think about how many kids you want to have, in that situation that quickly, because if you're giving that woman's time for her body to recover, if you're giving that woman time for her body to get back to some normality, which by the way, quote unquote, Sierra actually did do, she's had her kids, I think a couple of years apart. Baby Future was born way before his sister was born. And his sister was almost 4 to 5 before 3 or 4 before they had their next child. And their younger brother is now 3 years old and she's having this last child. So when I tell you getting that breathing room needed to start earlier, normally when I meet people who have had 3 kids, they've had their first child usually in their late 20s. So I think he got to reel it back in if he's thinking about dating a woman in her 30s or in her 40s and having that many children back to back. So we notice that that's going to be their issue. Janelle sits with Courtney. They have a deeper conversation about the kids' issue. She says she definitely wants to do it, but they got to consider that, as that's going to be a big hurdle for them to overcome. Let's move on. Now, child, this was a full mess. When I tell you Kat and her cousin Monica are there to meet Marie, why are they back at the same restaurant they just had the brunch at? I'm like, Ready to Love, y'all could have did better than this. Did they just film this right after they had that brunch there? Because y'all, this is the same glasses. Anyway, cousin Monica says that she's here because she's been, really close with Kat since they were younger. She knows her like the back of her hand. She knows what Kat wants. Kat says the same exact thing. Cousin Monica said that, Kat has had some questionable relationships in the past, honey. We don't know that much about Kat's situation. Kat said, before she was actually like a little bit of a stepmama. And cousin Monica says Kat is too cute to be a stepmama. And I was like, okay, she's going to already annoy me. I get what she's saying about the stepmother situation, but honestly, Kat is also in her 30s and she's dating men in their 30s. And it's a likelihood that you will meet men in their 30s that have children. I don't think a man having one child, if the relationship situation is decent, especially because Marie's child is not like 2 or 3. They're, his kids are older. So, it's a situation where if you have a kid and they're older, that you may not have the baby mama drama as much as you would sometimes if the kid is very, very young and a relationship is freshly done. And according to Marie, baby mama done moved on and met somebody else in that relationship anyway. So she's not even there for them as that type of situation. But either way, Monica is giving me Courtney 2.0. If y'all know who Courtney is from Real Housewives of Atlanta, the gratingness of Monica's voice is annoying me, y'all. And it reminds me so much of Courtney and that bobblehead energy of like, let me catch you in something. Da-da-da-da-da. And I was just like, it's too much. So I don't know if it's too much for Maury. I do know that he rolled in here dressed like Ice Cube from Higher Learning. Why was he dressed like Fudge? I don't know what was going on with these like stripes. Maury was just really into any kind of energy around cross colors in the 90s this week. If it was a short set, he was buying it. So Marie sits down, they start having a conversation. And, of course, Monica enters into the same energy that Kat entered into with her friend Allie when she met them. She's like, oh, me and Katrina. And she keeps calling her Katrina. She never calls her Kat. She's like, me and Katrina have known each other forever and we're cousins and we love each other and we're like 2 peas in a pod. And already I had to take a break because I knew this lady was going to work my nerves. So they start having conversation and she asks him about Marie's plan and what he wants to do in the next 5 years, whether it's something that he's really into. And he tells her that currently he's working on dual citizenship on both Ghana and Sierra Leone. And this is when I'm reminded that Marie is a hotep. Yes, you can have dual citizenship within the United States as a U.S. citizen, as long as the other country is willing to accept the dual citizenship situation and they're not an excluded country, nor Ghana or Sierra Leone are that. But Maria, you ain't going to all these places. Last week you told us it was Mali. Make up your mind, sir. You even know the distance between Sierra Leone and Ghana, which is like a 2.5-hour plane ride. It's like a 29-hour drive, honey. Like, where are we going with this narrative of the motherland constantly? It's just giving the natural Hotep Dr. Umarish lines that I don't know where we were going with this. The cousin continues to be annoying. She asked Marie about that situation because she says, well, Katrina lives here and I don't understand. And Katrina's like, well, I'm willing to now. I'm calling Kat Katrina. This is why this was getting annoying. She says that Kat is interested in, traveling certainly, but I don't know about moving to a whole nother place, which I also said the same thing last week. I just don't see Kat moving to Africa in 4 or 5 years and leaving her family behind and the people that she loves and knows. I don't think her and Marie are a match. I don't think he's got enough money for her. I don't think they see the same values in terms of community. Not that Kat's not, down for her community, but I think Marie wants to be a lot more involved. And I just don't see that with them. She says that cousin Courtney says, well, we'll have to see about that part. She then goes on to ask Marie about his children and, what that situation was like. And, how is he with the child's mom? And he says that they get along well. They make all their decisions, with the kids in mind. And he makes his decisions with the child in mind. They make the same decisions together. And he also meant that, when it comes to the doctor, when it comes to, appointments for the child, when it comes to school, and that his son is going to come live with him when he's about 12 years old. He's 10 now, but he plans to live with him full time when he's 10. He's 12. This definitely gave me Maurice from Ready to Love situations. I kind of understand where he's coming from. They live in the same city, so it's not the child would not live with their mother. But I do think that there is a period that young men need to have more of a focus because they have to be focused. And I saw Deion Sanders talk about this the other day and him having, 3 sons, talking about the importance of your children living with him, which his children did live with him later on in his marriage after his divorce. And I think it's something about instilling that sense of discipline and a sense of manhood that cannot be taught by a mother. Now, mothers do it every day. Single mothers are amazing and they do what they have to do. But the reality is that when you have a man in that household, or you have or his father is active in his life, it just helps to have that consistent vision of that man getting up every day and going to work, that man getting up every day providing for his family, that man teaching him the lessons of manhood that he needs. And because a child is living between two parents who aren't together, it doesn't hurt that he lives with his father, and gets that daily dose of that. Still seeing his mother, still seeing the nurturing part. And for them, they have the advantage that she lives where he lives, so he wouldn't be far away from her. But Monica ain't buying that, honey. She's like, look, I don't know. What does that mean? Are y'all still together? If y'all that close and y'all making all decisions together, does that mean you want to get back with her? And it was like, girl, why? Why are you here? I didn't get that from Marie's explanation. He says, no, we're not together. We just would make the decisions together. That's what quality co-parenting kind of looks like. And it does. So I just didn't understand that. She then asked, like, the relationship with the baby mama could be too much. What's the situation there? He's like, we have a great relationship. I don't know how accurate that is because Maria Baby Mama on TikTok. And I feel like she's been throwing a little shade very early on in the show, but I honestly feel like she was trolling Maria. So they may actually have a good relationship because I think she was actually trolling him because she on there with the new man too, honey. But I think she was trolling him about like something with church before. So I don't think they actually have a bad relationship. He was sitting with her at something and he did not want to be there. But I do not think that it meant that they had a bad relationship. And she never once said that Marie had a bad relationship with her when it came to their child. So I did not get that there was a negative situation there. Um, and that's like the only thing I saw on that. But Monica wants to know if that means that they still have something going on. He says no, but I control that situation. And I feel like what he was saying in that moment was, basically that, I don't have that drama. I don't have the issue. Like she moved on, I moved on. We share this kid together. We love this kid equally. And so we make really sound decisions. That can absolutely happen if both parents are willing to focus on the child. Kat seemed to get that. Monica didn't seem to get that. She wanted to know Maria and this woman still have something going on. And he says no. She says, well, how do you feel about the son? If he's going to live with you full time, let's say he meets Kat and he does not like Kat. How would you feel about that? Or let's say the baby mama meets Kat and she does not like that because we don't want no drama. And it was like, oh my God, somebody let this woman go home. But he says, hey, if my son, he's a child, so we're not going to have the, talking to me any kind of way in terms of the woman, but we can have that conversation. And that is really important that you give your child active expression when it comes to how they feel about somebody that you're dating, because they do have to love your kid. And you don't want a situation where your child can't come to you about how they feel about the person. But you also have to weigh in the situation about where that energy could be coming from. I thought Maria answered it well. He said, me and the baby mama don't have nothing going on, and then when he said control, I control that situation, it's not an issue. She looked at him mad when he said control. But I agree with Kat. I felt like he was just saying we got boundaries. We're not in that situation. That lady done moved on anyway, so I doubt she still want to be with Maria. I thought the cousin was super rude. I think her suit was cute, but she was annoying. She finally asked Maria to stand up while they're in the restaurant. And he's like, why am I standing up? But she's like, oh, just stand up. And then she says, Kat, stand up. And then we realize she's trying to, determine their height. And as a tall woman, I understood where she was coming from. Anybody trying to date their son, honey. And sometimes he's maybe just too little on the other end. But they were around the same height. And she's like, oh, well, we're we're a family of tall women. So how do you feel about Kat being tall and everything like that? He's like, I could climb trees and everything like that. It was like kind of funny, but we need to wrap this date up. They really don't have chemistry anyway. So this like whole thing he had to go through with this cousin was just ridiculous. And ultimately, we don't really see Monica and agreeing with him. And she doesn't. She basically says that after, Maria leaves, that she doesn't know how she sees Kat for her. She knows Kat and she just feels like the baby mama situation might be something I think is more something for Monica than it is for Kat. And that him wanting to move to Africa is something that she just don't see, Kat really doing based on the things that she knows Kat wants to do with her life. So basically Maria is eliminated because, honey, Kat ain't going to the motherland. Now we go from worse to worse. How do we end up here? We are with Aries and her mom and her sister. Y'all, why does Aries' mom and her look just alike? Beautiful, beautiful women. Her mama looks incredibly young, just beautiful. Anyway, having a chit chat about everything that's going on, and Aries wants them to definitely ask Phil the tough questions. When I tell you her sister was propped up already ready to be angry. And so they are waiting for Phil to enter. Not only does Phil enter, but he enters with flowers. Phil actually only bought 2 sets. So I believe he probably thought, or maybe he was told by Aries that he would only be meeting her and her mom. But it sounds like her sister came along extra and he only had 2 bouquets of flowers. I thought that was really sweet that he did that. It was a nice gesture, but he gives a set of flowers to Aries and her mom, and he says, I didn't have one for your sister because I would have bought a third one had I known a third person was coming. So this was what kind of made me feel like it could have been a little bit of an ambush, and we'll continue to see why. So the sister is sitting there and she's like, immediately getting into it. She says, she starts asking him like interview type questions. And she asked him about his leadership style and if he believes in partnership and his perspective on that. It just felt like a job interview and less like a conversational tone. I know that they have to get to it because, you're the family, but I hate when people come in like an ambush energy. It does put the other person on defense and it does make it seem less reality based and more inauthentic, and it makes them feel like they have to constantly defend themselves, and that feels weird to me. So this date in particular just took a weird ass turn. But anyway, Phil answers that his leadership style is one that, although he's the man, he does like having more of a partnership style. Like even if he feels a certain way or feels like they could move in a certain direction when it comes to leading his family, he likes to hear his woman's input because he feels like he doesn't want to be this domineering guy over her, essentially. And he says, like I want to refer to her because I also want to make sure that she's in agreement to what we're about to do. It's weird because Aries didn't hate the answer, but she didn't completely love it, and she knows her family hated it. And her family's kind of looking like, oh, okay, so you saying you're not gonna make the decisions? Like, I think she was looking for him to more say, like, I lead my family, I do all of that. But I appreciated that Phil wanted to hear her voice in conversation. So often we as women in relationships, especially, we talk about not having our voice squelched and not feeling like we can be ourselves verbally and say what we need to say. And it was weird to have Phil sort of articulate that intelligently and in a mature way. And for Aries to be like, oh, I don't know if my family's going to like that situation. But child, it went from good to worse. So mama asked him about church. She says, what are your feelings on that? Phil says that, she says, do you go to church? And Phil says, no. And then she says, well, Phil, do you believe in God? And he says, yes, I believe in God, but I'm practicing something more closer to Buddhism or whatever. So, Namyo Renge Kyo. So either way, mama's like, oh, okay, because we all Christians over here. And you could just tell mama wasn't feeling the answer. She wasn't liking it. Phil is sweating at this point, honey. It's just giving weird game show energy. It's giving spotlight. And he says, I believe in the Lord or whatever. I definitely believe. Well, he said, I believe in a spiritual being, and I believe, I pray over my food. We prayed over our food. He's talking about him and Aries. And he says, we could pray right. She's like, we could pray right now. You know what I'm saying? To get it together real quick. They got the little, soul food prayer on, and Phil proceeds to finish up the prayer, and then they end it like that. It was a nice prayer. She says, thank you, Jesus, in the middle of it, and Phil goes, see, why people got to act out like this? It was just like, she gonna try to test me to see. It was just so crazy how this date did not go at all how I expected it to go. So the sister asked him what he likes to do for fun or what he likes to do outside of this. And Phil said, I am a fun individual. I like having a good time. I used to do stand-up comedy. I don't know how that was perceived as I want to be in stand-up comedy. He said, I used to be a stand-up comic. I did that for a little while, but he's just saying like, in general, that's not his situation. From everything that I remember, Phil is a logistics manager at a corporation, for a major corporation. And so I'm just thinking to myself, like, why are we back at these stability questions again? Something either Aries knows or there is something about her past marriages, as in dual, that was an issue. So the sister says, well, do those jokes pay? And he's like, well, not usually when you're first starting. But again, this isn't Phil's current occupation. He said that was something he used to do. And the question was about fun. You ain't asked us maybe like to hang glide or play spades or nothing. We just automatically add the negativity again. And it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I was like, where are these questions going? They were extra aggressive. They were all over the place. They didn't even match in alignment with a real conversation. It was just these random stabbed at questions. It's giving cousin Monica energy. And it's like, Aries, if you just don't want to date this man because you feel like he broke, just say that. But this narrative of having her mom and her sister do this like back and forth thing where it just was weird. You could tell it's not going well. This meetup was messy as hell. And, Phil doesn't know what's going on. And he's like, if she has these stability questions, then we probably just need to figure that part out. And then maybe this is something that would not work. But he doesn't think it went well because he felt ambushed. And I have to agree with him. Like, I thought they were going to have a cooler, more relaxed situation. And again, I feel like a lot of her past is being put on top of him. So unless we find out at the reunion that there's some things she found out about Phil's current financial situation that made her question it, to me, it's like you brought a lot of your baggage from your old situations. It feels like you made a lot of bad decisions in your past with your marriages when it came to financial stability, and you're making this man pay for it because it took him a little longer to get into his career. But he's there now, and this man clearly said, I made these changes for my kids. So I don't know what was going on here. It was a full mess. So now we're sitting down with Jessica and Morier. And Jessica is having Morier meet her cousin. Jessica's walking, honey. I love them shoes. They were fire. I swear. I need to find out, Jessica got them shoes from, honey. So Jessica's cousin is there. Jessica likes that her cousin is meeting Morier because her cousin has been divorced before. And she also has been married, and she knows Jessica, and she knows the things that Jessica's into. So she feels like she'll have a great insight into that situation. And so she's super excited to see what her cousin has to say about Morier. And child, little and lo behold, do they have Morier walking up the street, honey. When I tell you full on Colonel Sanders, red, white, a pimp named Slickback, red, white stripe. You couldn't tell Morier nothing. He was fried, dyed, and laid to the side, had the fresh Dax in his hair. And it's crazy because Jessica had just described Morier as a whole old man, a southern old man to her cousin. Because that's what Morier gave off every time. It's very much given, you know, street pimp is very much given, you know, fresh grease in the beard. It's utterly hilarious. Maria really is somebody church deacon. So the cousin is way cool and she's way more respectful than Monica. And she has a seat and they're talking. I think we get alluded to the fact that Maria is a chef or a cook or a lunch lady. I don't know what he was, but he was one of those things. And the cousin asked, like, Maria, like, what is some of the things that he wants to achieve? Because Jessica's a businesswoman. We know that she owns her own coffee company. And what does Maria want to do? When he says that he's looking forward to getting back, his goal is to be like in a new restaurant, like to have a new restaurant again. I didn't know Mario had a restaurant before. You have to let me know in the comments. I don't remember anything about him mentioning that he used to own a restaurant or he ran a restaurant or anything like that. I do know that I think somebody showed a picture online about the fact that he has like a food truck now or something like that. I don't know. So I don't know what that situation is, but girl, I guess he frying chicken somewhere. Marie says that, that's the goal, that he wants to, in a couple of years, not only, have his restaurant, but he doesn't want to necessarily be the one running the day to day. He wants to have a staff running it. And they didn't really ask for so many questions. Jessica says that they have a strong connection, but Mario has a choice to make. It's not something that's super there. The cousin asked him about like his plans for the future. He took, he gives her the Africa story, honey, because he's letting everybody know he's moving to Africa. And Jessica says she could rock out with Mario being in the motherland. I think for them, they are feeling very familiar to us. The conversation is very familiar. But the reality is, I haven't heard that much about the kids thing. We hear about that a lot with Quentin and Janelle, but we really haven't heard a lot about that with Jessica and Maria. And that's something that stuck out to me from the last episode. I feel like they have the stronger connection between him and Kat. But the reality is, I don't think the Hotep thing is going to completely work for Jessica, although, she could surprise us, I guess. But I also just feel like the kid thing is something that I know that she said that she wants. And Marie says, sounds like he's completed with his kids now that he, has his boy or whatever. And I think the cousin mentioned that. So that's something that I would have loved for them to have a conversation about. Marie says he sees himself married in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's something that he really wants, that he yearns for it and seeks for it. I worry about people who, I respect them wanting marriage, but I worry about when the focus is the marriage or is the wedding and not the marriage. Like wanting to be married and then actually being married is two different things. And I think sometimes people aren't necessarily thinking about that. They're thinking about the concept of their idea of marriage and not their idea of being with the one that they want to be married to. Marie leaves the table because I guess he got food to serve, and the cousin feels like she can picture them together. Like I told y'all before, in an alternative universe, I could see them together because I could see if Marie was like a man of the people, is wanting to stay in the community. Jessica would easily be that Michelle Obama wife that's like, hey, let's get it together, let's make this happen, let's get you elected. But I don't see this being something that lasts past the reunion. But you never know. So now we at these parks, honey. Every time that they do Ready to Love, they have people meet at these random parks for their city. And I get that they probably filming in the middle of the morning, honey, because somebody was by the atrium. Anyway, um, these meetups happen interchangeably, so we have all these dramatic moments. But we just gonna go through each moment as is. So we got Phil coming down the way. And Phil is walking down and he has flowers and a box in his hand. He's walking down. He says he's super excited. He said he really has enjoyed this process and getting to know Aries. He feels like she's an amazing warmth and light, yada, yada, yada. He walks down with this thing and he's just hoping that, she's open to choosing him. He knows that they have some other questions they got to work out, but he thinks that the journey is worthy. I just want to say for me personally, I also felt that way. I thought it could have went longer. I do feel like this shouldn't be something where people feel like they have to immediately be a couple. I feel like they only know each other for like 6 weeks. So it's like 6 or 7 weeks of getting to know somebody. So that in itself would not make you be a boyfriend girlfriend situation. You could be in 2.5 months with somebody, or it might take a bit longer to really get to know them. And because you're dating them in this bubble of Ready to Love, I think the expectation should be that you would at best have met somebody who you genuinely enjoy dating, that you could date exclusively when you leave this process, but not necessarily this be your man or this be your woman. So I feel like that is the best expectation. And I'm always thrown off when people try to make these like lifetime choices with these folks, because you still have to really date this person outside the bubble. And they also have to date you outside the bubble. They don't know if you are as cool as you seem when we're in this process. When you get outside of it, you're nuts. So the idea that like you have to make this decision so formal or final, it's just kind of silly. But either way, Phil walks down and he's dressed pretty casual. Like he has like a kind of like a, I don't know, Hawaiian shirt on or something. That I won't say Hawaiian. It's more like just a casual, like, linen polo with like a pair of pants and like a pair of shoes. Nothing too dressy. But why Aries come walking down in this sparkle holiday dress? Girl, she looked beautiful, but it didn't go together. And so often, sometimes these meetups, the clothing don't go together. So my fashion review is they were going to different places, and maybe that was apropos for where this situation ended up going. Aries walks down. She always gives that beautiful smile, and they're connected. Phil is very excited when he sees her walk down. They're smiling at each other. The chemistry was never an issue with these two. He gives her these roses. They start having this conversation. He lets her know how he feels about her, and he also presents her with this gift. And the gift is a baseball that he has given her, because I guess she had a connection with her father who played baseball. So she mentions that her father was a former baseball player, and they had a connection through the sport with him. She loved him. Erie's dad passed away not that long ago. Phil lost his dad and his stepfather like within the last 2 years. So they really have bonded over that scenario. He gave her the baseball, and the baseball actually has a heart sewn into it so that she could keep it as, a keepsake. It was a really beautiful thing to do and gesture. You could tell this man really understood this woman and has been learning her and learning what she likes and what she's into. And so it was just a really sweet moment. But honey, it ends right there. It really does. Maria could, Aries could have took that baseball and threw it at Phil, because the next thing she said was that she really likes him and she's enjoyed getting to know him. He's made this process fun. He's made it a good time. And she really feels like they have an instant connection when they see each other. However, she basically alludes to the fact that she needs to be with somebody who she feels like is a stronger leader and that she feels like she could respect. And I was like, what the hell? I don't know if y'all was shocked, but I was shocked. Again, Phil took this very well, in my opinion. There's no other way for him to take it. It wasn't like he needed to go off. He didn't need to pull a Chris. But I do feel like Aries is just coming out of left field with this financial situation because he still doesn't understand the stability conversation. This man has been very transparent, and I don't know what the indication was. We need to know more. I just feel like we don't know enough, or we don't know enough about Aries' past. But whatever it is, she either sees some glimmers or some flags or something about someone that she dealt with previously, or she knows some tea about Phil that we don't know. It's very annoying to be on this end of things because we don't know that. It just feels like she's doing the most when it comes to the stability thing, and I'm getting upset for Phil about her bringing this up because either you have some issue from your past that you have not resolved, and Phil reminds you a little bit of that because she feels like she falls for the charm more and doesn't ask fundamental questions. And I'm like, okay, is this because of your first ex or your second ex? Or is this something you know about Phil that we don't know, that you feel like he's just not a stable person? Finding your career later in life doesn't mean that you don't have your shit together. And I just don't understand where this conversation is coming from. So essentially, Aries says, look, I want to like him. I want to respect him. I want there to be a thing, but there's just too many questions for me, and I'm going to choose myself. And, Phil is not angry. He handles it the way he should handle it as a grown man and just says, he understands that you could see the pain in his eyes and the hurt. Ari was playing on his top, honey. He was pissed. So he was like, you know what? I can live with this. I don't want anybody who feels like they can't respect me. And I certainly don't want anybody who feels like they just have this lingering issue around me. And I think it's for the best. And, sadly, we move on. I really like them, y'all. I'm sad that this is not something that they were able to get past. So now we headed to this bridge to nowhere. And I literally mean that in terms of Marie and Jessica's relationship. Again, like them as friends, love them as, a possible alternative world, something. But let's be honest. Marie strolling down, looking like a bus driver that just got off of work, fresh and dressed, honey. He's Deacon Boy clean, and he got these cop patrol sunglasses on. It's like he is a full hilarity show all in himself. Marie is strolling down to this bridge in the park, and they pick some beautiful locations in Dallas to do these little meetups. But it's giving, why are we here? And in walks Jessica, because we know that Marie had to choose between Jessica and Kat. And he said while he enjoys Kat, he doesn't see them as anything more than friends. And him and Jessica just have a stronger connection. He said they have a deeper connection. They talk all the time. He feels like they've been through a lot of light relationship stuff, which I do understand what he meant by that, because I mentioned that in previous reviews, that I feel like they went through like one or two things that you kind of go through in a relationship and were able to handle it a certain way. And I enjoyed how they addressed it. But I also just don't see their lifestyles completely aligning when it comes to certain things. And mainly because Mario Hotep, and I just don't know where that's going to really go in real life. Jessica comes walking through, and I did not love her dress. I did not understand the half up, half down. It was a short dress at the top, but then it has like a ruffled feathered bottom. And then the other part was long. I didn't know what we were doing here. I feel like the dress was undone or unfinished, or was possibly bought online. And the online dresses, you got to be careful because they look like one thing on the web, and then when you get it in the mail, it's like, what the hell is this? I wasn't feeling that. I also didn't like Jessica's hair. I feel like she was at work. Like, it was supposed to be an updo, but it just looked like, she had been at work, and it was like, oh, I gotta go meet him at the bridge. And then she just put on somebody's dress. It just did not feel as good as it did. I feel like she was dressed better at the dinner with her cousin than she was dressed here for this meetup. I just did not love this look. The hoop earrings, everything was it was weird. And Jessica usually looks very good, so I didn't understand, how we got here. Jessica is up here. I can't even believe they played the relationship arc situation to the end, and this whole like he had to choose between Kat and Jessica was so fake. Kat had already been out of this decision for multiple reasons. Mainly Mario didn't make enough money for her, and I didn't see him being the type that is going to be supporting no full family while you sit at home. We live in this luxury home, and that's everything that Kat gave to me. Not that they could be living in struggle, but just that he's not going to be. His concern is more so his community, and that's not usually a man who's thinking about living in like a multi-million-dollar mansion. So anyway, Marie's standing there. why he got them funeral flowers that he gave to Jessica? Did y'all notice that? Those are them same flowers that when you order flowers for somebody's funeral and they get a wreath or whatever, it's them same like long stem flowers that he gave her. I was like, did Marie pass the funeral home? Is that where he's coming from? I don't know, but them flowers was funeral flowers. And I was like, I'm done. Marie said he chooses Jessica. It's been her since the beginning. When he thinks about it, they've had the strongest connection. They've really gone through real things in that amount of time that have shown him that they could get through a lot of other things as far as like, the disagreement that they had with the Chris situation. And I think there was one other thing. It wasn't anything stressful, but it was things that made me feel like they really do communicate well. Jessica says she feels the same way and that, she feels like Marie has been a great person to her. They have amazing conversations on the phone. They do have similar life goals. I would love to hear those because I didn't know what they were. Maybe because they're both entrepreneurs. And I'm saying entrepreneurs mostly talking about Jessica because not too much on Marie because we still don't really know what he does. Like I said, I'm not really sure what this food venture is. And they both care about each other. And it's very much something that they think could be turning into something beautiful as a relationship. Their connection at the end, again, just gave me like why are we here? It's like y'all are good friends. Maybe it could turn into something. It's giving arranged marriage more than it's giving love connection. And alternative world, Maria and Jessica would be it, honey. But this was the most awkward thing. They hug, he grabs her hand, and then he gives her this weird ass forehead kiss that lasts forever. And there is no like kiss on the lips. There's no like romantic. It just gave, let's go bowl after this. And look, maybe the best relationships start off as friendships and this could be a thing, but there was no romantic vibe to me that suggests like I found my person. It was like, I think me and my homeboy, if we kick it longer, could do some things. And that's not enough for Ready to Love. Lastly, we are meeting up with Quentin and Janelle. They seem to be one of the few couples that was dressed appropriately for this ending situation. And that also like they were going to the same place after this. Like they looked like they could go take pictures after this. It felt really weird to see some of the other couples. They were just mismatching dress. I think again with me with Jessica, it was just that dress, honey. So Quentin walks in, looking very cute. He's got his little like blue suit on. It's giving, I don't know if it's giving Smurf blue. It's definitely up on the tealish situation. But Quentin is very big, so a little bit he could pop a button, honey, in a quick minute if he just turned around too fast. So, but the suit was suiting, it looked good, and it was well put together. He has these beautiful roses for Janelle mixture. It wasn't funeral flowers. And he's waiting for her. And he says that he knows that there's been some things that they've really only ever had a disagreement, I think, about, or disagreement or the differences about the child thing. But everything else has really flowed well with them. He didn't know in this process if he would meet anybody. And, she literally makes him smile. And he brings it up multiple times in this episode, as does she. And, they've had that connection since the mixer. And he has been on it since the mixer. And she certainly entertained it. And over time, I definitely have seen her like melt into that situation with him and her. And so here comes Janelle walking up and she's got like a black gown, honey, looking real cute. They meet up in the middle of the park in this long grassiness. Where did Ready to Love be choosing these meetups? Again, I do not know. I do think that I enjoy seeing them do this long walk, but the respect factor for women in heels, I just don't get it. I remember one time they had somebody walking from real far away, and I was like, dress was beautiful, gown just a dragging on the ground, and I'm like, why y'all got this lady on this concrete in these heels? And she was walking like to meet whoever, and I think whoever she met, she didn't even choose him, and I was just like, Ready to Love, y'all got him standing there. You got the people standing in grass with high heels on. What are y'all doing? They could meet up anywhere. It doesn't have to be this spot. They so cheap on this show. They just wanted them to meet somewhere for free. I swear they do this every time. Anyway, so Jessica meets up with Quentin, and basically Quentin is saying that he chooses her. She's his person. He feels like, yes, they do have the issue around the child, but it's something that they can revisit. He could be okay with having a child and maybe adopting. He just wants obviously that to be on the table and they can have further discussions about it. Because again, these people only know each other for 6 to 7 weeks. Now, I don't think he's going to fundamentally change his mind about having 3 kids in the initial process of it. But the reality of having 3 kids and raising 3 kids and him trying to also build a business at 34 that he's trying to build into something, I think that's going to kick in because he is an entrepreneur. Just Janelle's an entrepreneur as well, but she's a successful entrepreneur that's been doing it for many, many years. He is a new entrepreneur based on what we heard. And sir, if you want to have 3 kids, you got to be able to have 3 kids support money. Do you got that? So it feels like I think the reality of having kids and also being able to support that family um at a certain level is something that he probably has taken into consideration. I don't think it's been overnight, but I don't know the time between when they actually have that last date and when they do these like meetups at the park. So he says that it's something that is definitely something he will have to, think about, but he's open to the concept because he really wants to focus on the woman he's with and the lady. That's the person he cares about and not so much about, how many kids that they have. So he said he can figure that part out. Janelle says to him that, he makes her light up. She didn't know about this process as well. And she didn't think she would meet somebody who makes her feel this good about their situation and her, that it made her be open to a lot of things that she felt like she might have been closed off to at some point in time. I feel like she's been open with him in the process and they connected. She says she also chooses him and, she unequivocally chooses him. There is no other. Very cute. They hug, they kiss. We close. The season has ended, and it looks like Jessica and Marie and Janelle and Quentin are going to be our Ready to Love folks. Let me know what y'all think about the episode down in the comments. I really like Janelle and Quentin. I feel like they have a genuine vibe. I hate that Aries and Phil are a done deal because I really just don't understand that. And I really wanted to see if they could work through it. We'll see with the reunion. And I don't understand Jessica and Marie. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about the couples. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for joining me. And we will be back for the reunion, y'all. So get ready because honey, Tequila is already giving us all the ghetto vibes we need for this to be a ratchet event. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching. I'll see y'all next week. Bye. Now, y'all know by now, my favorite part of this is hearing and talking and listening to y'all. So don't forget to drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the video and let me know what you think of the episode.